Hi everybody. This video is going to be about, I'm going to work some problems from section 4.5 related to finding truth values of related categorical propositions, statements, and then also testing the validity of immediate inferences using techniques from the book. All right, so number 2 here. If all fashion ads are products of commercial brainwashing is false, if that statement is false, what is the truth value of the following statements? All right, so first what we have to do is we have to figure out what type of statement this is. Well, you can see here that it says all fashion fads are products. All FRP. So what type of statement is that? Well, if we look at our square of opposition, again, this is from the traditional viewpoint. Every S is a P, or all SRP is an A-form statement. Now, what the problem says is that this statement is given as false. All right, so we know that our A statement is false, and then we have to determine the truth value of the 3 related categorical propositions. All right, so no fashion fads are products of commercial brainwashing. All right, first we need to identify what that is. No FRP. Well, again, if we look at our table, no SRP, no FRP is an E-form statement. When A is given as false, in the contrary relationship, what do we know about the corresponding E-form statement? If A is given as false, pause and answer that question yourself for what is the truth value of E? The answer is that it's undetermined. If an A-form statement is given as false, we don't know what the truth value of the corresponding E-form statement is. It's undetermined. So remember, the contrary relation is such that if A is true or E is true, then the opposite must be false. So if A is given as true, then E would be false. If E is given as true, A is false. But if one is given as false initially, we don't know the truth value of the other. It's undetermined. All right, some fashion fads are products of commercial brainwashing. Some FRP. What type of statement is that? That is the I form. Some FRP. We know that we are given initially that A is false. All right, so what is the truth value of this? That is also undetermined. In the traditional square of opposition, truth flows down. Falsity does not flow down from an A to an I statement. And so here, this is also undetermined. Also, remember that along the contradictory relation, that an undetermined corner must be across from an undetermined corner. And so we know that already that our E-form statement, our corresponding E-form, was undetermined. And through the contradictory relation, this is also undetermined. So we can see that both were making the correct choices, right? It's undetermined from the A, falsity does not flow down. It's also undetermined from the undetermined statement that we determined earlier. Finally, some fashion fads are not products. Some F are not P. So we know that our last statement, some S is not P, is an O-form statement. So A is given as false. And then we have the contradictory relation across on the diagonal in the traditional square. Contradictory relation is one such that that the truth values are always different. Now, an undetermined truth value will always be contradictory to an undetermined truth value. But since A is given as false, we know that the corresponding O statement then must be true. So the answer to our entire group of statements is that the E statement is undetermined if A is given as false. The I is also undetermined if A is given as false because falsity does not flow down. And if A is given as false, then the contradictory relation O must be true. Right. Some assassinations are morally justifiable actions is true. Some ARM. Some SRP. What kind of statement is that? Some SRP. Pause, answer it yourself. Some SSP, some SRP is an I-form statement. And that is given, this is number 5. So actually, let's do number 6. Sorry. It's the same thing. Some SRP is false. What is the truth value of the following statements? Okay, let's say that that is false. Number 6 here. So this is a false statement. Now let me just take you through everything. If this is false, the contradictory relation, this statement would be true. So without even looking at the other statements, we know that no SRP would be true. Through the subalternate relation, we know that falsity flows up, truth flows down. So if a particular statement is given as false, then we know that the corresponding A statement would be false through the subalternate relation. So one way I like to think of it is truth flows down from above, from on high, the form of the good, God, whatever it is. Truth comes down to humans. That's kind of a traditional way that humans have thought about truth. Falsity flows up. So everything false on the earth, you know, or hell, or from the devil or whatever, would be false. And so that would kind of flow up to a higher level from our current state. Now Nietzsche critiques that view, but anyway, we won't go down that route. But kind of an easy way to remember it: truth flows down from heaven, falsity flows up from earth. So, and then understanding the logical relationship is the most important part. So if it's not true that some dogs are cats, if it's false, then is it true that all dogs are cats? No, of necessity, if there's not at least one dog that's a cat, then all dogs can't be cats. So falsity flows up. All right, so we know that the E statement is going to be true because of the contradictory relation. We know the A form statement is going to be false because falsity flows up. And from the sub-contrary relation, we know that if a particular is given as false, the other must be true. It's the opposite of the contrary relation, where if A is given as true, E would be false. Or if E is a true statement, A would be false. For the I and O statements, if I is given as false, O is true. If O is given as false, I is true. All right, so let's look back at our question. It's false that some assassinations are morally justifiable. Therefore, all assassinations are morally justifiable actions. All SRP. That's our A-form statement. We know falsity flows up. This is all SRP. So we know that A is false. No assassinations are morally justifiable actions. Well, we know that no SRP is an E-form statement. That is the contradictory of the I-form. If I is false, then E would have to be true. So B here is true. And finally, C, some assassinations are not morally justifiable actions. That is the O-form statement. By the sub-contrary relation, if one is given as false, the other must be true. And so we have A is false, I is false, E is true, and O is true. One other hint here, just logistically, if you're doing these, anytime you're working in the traditional standpoint and really on a truth table, you're either going to have 2 trues and 2 falses. And remember that they'll have to be contradictory to each other. Or you'll have a true and a false and 2 undetermined values. So if you ever get 3 undetermined values, you know you've done something wrong. If you ever get 3 trues and falses and 1 undetermined value, you've known that you've done something wrong. Or if you ever get 4 trues or 4 falses or 3 trues or 3 falses, you know that you've done something wrong. So it's either 1 true, 1 false, and 2 undetermineds in the 4 statements, or it's 2 trues and 2 falses. All right, let's move on. Okay, so in this case, we're going to, in part 2 here, we're use the traditional square of opposition to determine whether the immediate inferences are valid or invalid, and name any fallacies that are committed. Remember, the fallacies that involve the traditional square of opposition are things like illicit conversion, illicit subalternation, illicit conversion, illicit subalternation, and then what's the one I'm drawing a blank on here? Hold on a second. Sorry, let me start again. Illicit contrary, illicit subalternation, or illicit subcontrary. Sorry, I was thinking about the immediate inferences for changing categorical propositions, which is the next part of this assignment, where they amp up the difficulty by adding that element. So sorry about that. Okay, so it's false that no jailhouse informants are people who can be trusted. So they're going to give us a statement and then make a conclusion, and then we have to tell whether or not that's a valid or invalid inference. False that no JRP, no jailhouse informants, are people who can be trusted. So it's false. An E statement is given as false. No jailhouse people are people who can be, jailhouse informants are people who can be trusted. All right, so that's an E form statement. All right, the conclusion is, therefore, some jailhouse informants are not people who can be trusted. Really important that we identify what type of statement this is. Some jailhouse informants are not people who can be trusted. Some S are not P is an O form statement. So what we're doing here is we're having somebody take an E form statement as false, and then they are making an inference to an O form statement, and they're saying that that's true, essentially. All right, so does falsity flow down from an E statement to an O statement in the traditional square of opposition? Pause it, answer it, think about it. No, it does not. That is not a properly valid immediate inference. Falsity does not flow down. Therefore, the truth or falsity of this statement would be in question. We don't know. It's undetermined. Thus, this is not a valid inference. This is invalid by illicit subalternation. So that would be the formal fallacy here that is being enacted by the person making this. Illicit subalternation, falsity does not flow down to truth, or does not change to true in this relation, thus invalid inference. All right, let's look at another one. All right, number 8, remember that you can look up all the starred ones in the backs of your books. It's false that some forms of human creativity are activities amenable to mathematical analysis. False, so they're saying that this statement is false. Some forms of creativity are A. Some CRA. It's false. Okay, let's look at our table. Some CRA is false. What type of statement is that? That's an I statement. Some CRA. Now, but it's given as false. So what this person is saying is that this statement is false. Thus, therefore, it's false that all forms of human creativity are activities amenable to mathematical analysis. All right. Therefore, it is false. So it's saying we're starting with a falsity. We're making the inference that the corresponding statement is false, And that corresponding statement is all forms are activities amenable, all forms of human creativity. So all C are A, all C are A. What type of statement is that? All SRP, A form statement. So it's saying it's false that some SRP, therefore it's false that some A are P. Is this a valid immediate inference to make? Pause the video, answer it yourself, and think about it. The answer is yes. Yes, if a particular statement in the traditional square of opposition is given as false, the corresponding A form statement is false. One important note, this is the case in the traditional square when those are actually existing things. So let's check that. Are there forms of human creativity? Can we agree that there are? Yes, that's an actually existing thing. And then are there activities in the world that basically you can do mathematical analysis on? Yes, there are. So because these things actually exist in reality, then from the contrary, or from the traditional standpoint, through the subalternate relation, if some SSP is false, then we know that all SRP would be false, because falsity, again, flows up through the subalternate relation. All right. Done some examples here. I hope that helps. I hope you find it meaningful. And good luck as you continue your journey into the amazing and beautiful world of logic.